Hey, golfers, welcome back to the Second Swing Thoughts podcast. And joining us once again is Master Fitter Tyler Fitzel. And Tyler, we're talking 2025 fitting trends.
Yeah.
So, how has the year been going for you in the fitting bay?
It's been going really well. Seeing a lot of success. That's one of the things I love seeing success when someone has picked up their game a little, trying to help that equipment become a bigger part of success. One of the things I would say is, like, if we start with maybe the bag itself and talking about certain clubs, I'd start with putters.
Okay.
Big, very, I don't want to call it a fad, but a very big part of the putter segment has been the low torque, zero torque lab putter design. So right now we've seen players at professional levels playing with it. We've also seen them at certain professional levels winning with it. Every company pretty much has entered into that space. Even the boutique putter companies, the things that are kind of on the side, they make a putter at a time type. We've started to see a lot of those pop up. But right now, lab started kind of this recent trend. They've been around about 5 or 6 years.
Yep.
We see Bettinardi has gotten into the game. Callaway's into the game on that. And now TaylorMade is in the game. So we just saw that release here. Those are the ones that are manufacturers that you can go buy. Then there's the others that we see. So, for instance, there are prototypes from Scotty Cameron for tour players. There are prototypes from Ping for tour players. I know I'm missing something along the way. We do have Breakthrough Golf Technology. They just released one, which is, I think, called a Paradox, where they not only took that low torque design, but tried to even take it another step further in the axis. So they actually tilted the putter head, so they had weight. It wasn't just in a horizontal or vertical axis. They actually tilted it. So they have two weights and they tilted it, and now there's even less torque. So they're really, really hammering home on this idea of trying to reduce any twisting. So that's the whole thing with torque to begin with. So as we move our putters, we kind of twist our putters. And in some fashion, it might move up or down, left or right. That's what we're trying to reduce as much as possible, keeping the face squared up as much as possible and keeping the ball moving on its line. We're seeing a lot of success. And I've always told people, it's like, when they come in for a putter fitting, if this putter works, it's great. If it doesn't mean that we can't find something. But you do have to have a certain amount of loft that you're going to create in your stroke. Because if you're coming in and you're adding loft to something that is not, you're not going to be able to take it away, then all of a sudden you usually get high launch, you get backspin, you get offline. So that's the one thing in the putter studio that we're seeing a lot of in terms of fitting. We are a lot of interest in it. We're also seeing a lot of other putters that are on the market. Scotty Cameron has a full lineup, and he changed up a little bit of the look. So we've got some contrasting colors on one of his lineups. He's got the chain link milling.
Yep.
That he's also got on his regular putters, more blade style, Newport style putters for him. We're also seeing the same thing in Ping. Ping has gone back and completely redesigned their whole lineup. They have a wonderful lineup this year. So kind of any shape, including a couple of oldies but goodies that they brought back. If you talk about length, you can get pretty much any length. We don't yet have zero torque, low torque for either of those companies, a Ping or a Scotty Cameron. Yeah. That they've been a little bit more traditional, so it'd be interesting to see if they do that. But I don't think it's going to be anything for this year. I think it'd be something, if they do it, it'll be for next year.
Yeah, and I know, like, 2023, was kind of the year. That was the Ricky Fowler, Wyndham Clark. They had the big counterbalance.
The Jailbird, yeah.
Jailbird, right? And so you started seeing more companies come out with that, longer shaft, counterbalance, grip, all that. Are you still seeing a lot of success with that trend, even if it's not per se zero torque? Just with that longer build and a little more stability?
Yeah, and I think part of that, too, is where we really get into putter discussion if we want to go way back, and I mean really way back. I tell people, go look at the 1A Ping putter that Mr. Solheim created back in the 1960s, and it was his first putter design. It's a low torque, zero torque style putter in which the shaft is behind the face. And you could putt right-handed or left-handed because it's straight down. That's what a lot of these low torque and zero torque putters are trying to achieve. Get the face onset instead of behind. Yep. So we want out in front rather than behind. That was one of the first putters that was non-traditional, and we're talking so many decades ago. That technology is not new technology. It was at the time, and now you start to see where that has picked up from, and you start to see balancing. Everything is kind of like, all right, I got a center shafted here. I move it back, I get low torque. I move it to the heel, I get a lot of twisting motion, or everything that we talk about in terms of the types of clubs in the market. There's people that can use it and people that don't prefer it. I would also look at Justin Rose because he started using the one axis, or is it Axis One?
Axis One, yep.
A long time ago, and that was really the same thing. It's trying to reduce the twisting or the torque. Yep. But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You won a U.S. Open with it a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been, 2014 at Marion?
I think so, yeah. 13 or 14.
13 or 14, right around there.
So it's like, this isn't new technology. Nobody, he wins with it. I'm sure they sold a lot of putters, and they're still on the market, and they're still doing well, and he's still using it. Yeah. But people didn't rush out and automatically just go, oh, I'm going to be a better putter. Yeah. So I do think a lot of this gets into the marketing, and you get people on TV say it. You get people like us. We talk about it. I just don't ever look myself. I don't ever look at a putter and just go, well, that's going to be my thing. I get a putter in my bag. I have a lot of Scotty Camerons. You know me. That's what I have a lot of. But I also have a few other putters that are not. And those are the ones that I've played for decades. And I'm comfortable. I know what they do, and they do well. So there's kind of this idea, too, is people will come in and say, well, this is my other putter. Should I keep it? It really depends. If you don't feel like trading it in, that's okay. But if this isn't going to work for you when you get outside, we'll have to maybe go back to the drawing board with it. And that's an advantage. That's an advantage to our 30-day play guarantee.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
Get outside there and play it, try it, see it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's one of the best things we offer there is just, it's not a final purchase. Go outside, get a feel for it. How does it look? How is it interacting with, if it's an iron, how's it interacting with the turf, putter? How's it rolling for you on true, greens and whatnot? So, very awesome. All right, well, we're going to move next into irons. One of the big trends you've seen in recent years is the incorporation of HL irons.
Yes.
Obviously, I know Mizuno with their JPX, 923 hot metal HL line was very successful.
Yep.
Ping's done it with their G430, G440, even with the retrospect and whatnot.
Yep.
You see Callaway with the Elite bring in an HL model. You're seeing more of these HL models, TaylorMade as well. Why has that kind of, I'm not saying come back, but why has that become such a successful iron for so many players?
Well, let's go to the technology just a quick bit. So the first thing I mentioned, I say this all the time, there's 4 things that can happen to a golf ball. So there's the ball speed, the launch, the spin, and the direction it goes. And so when we get into irons, one of the things that a lot of people ask is, I might say, well, we're only going to go to a 5 iron in your set, maybe only a 6 iron. And they might come in with a 3 iron. And a 4 and a 5 and a 6 and et cetera. The companies are not de-lofting the irons because they want you to hit the ball farther. They're de-lofting the irons so that you don't hit the ball quite as high with as much spin. What's happened is as you increase ball speed, and a lot of these companies, a lot of the irons we're talking about in this category, they have a lot of ball speed. But ball speed creates launch and spin. It holds its line. It creates velocity on that golf ball. And that's one of the things that they're trying to mitigate. Most people, if they have a little bit of a cut or come across the ball, it's a larger percentage of golfers have an outside-in swing. So that's going to create a little bit more loft, a little bit more launch, a little bit more spin. They're de-lofting the clubs to try to help alleviate some of that. So it's not just simply, I'm going to de-loft something. But then there's the player that does not get the ball up in the air as much, and loft is your friend. We still want ball speed, but I need more loft. Yeah. So it's kind of two sides to the table. If you talk about a blade, just a straight blade, a 7-iron is usually about 34 degrees. And I'd say at least 95% of elite players or really, really good handicaps are playing something sort of neutral lofted. Okay, maybe it's not an actual blade, but it's close to it. Well, the lower the ball flight gets, the less carry distance you get and the more run out you get. So one of the things that we talk about all the time, and this is one where, our master fitter, Larry Bobka, talks about this, is as our swing starts to get a little lower, that ball flies lower. We need loft. So when we start talking about the popularity, not always, but pretty much every single time, I will grab, if I were going to test like a G440, I'm going to grab the retro loft right away. I want to know, is this a good loft, or do I need to take that down a little bit? Yeah. And the reason for that is if you're not getting the ball in the air, I don't care how far the ball is going to go, total wise. I say total is always determined by the environment. So if it's wet, it's not going to roll. If it's dry, it might roll too much. So getting the ball in the air, loft is a very, very critical piece to the fitting process. So that's one of the things that I look at with that. The other thing is I look at the length of the club. So let's say, for instance, a more neutral loft on a 7-iron is 34 degrees. But now I look at some of these sets have an 8-iron at 34 degrees. Well, the difference in length between a set in an S7 and an 8 might be a ½ inch of difference. So from a length perspective, if I make the set a ½ inch longer and they've got the same loft, it says 8 in the bottom, but effectively I've just given you a new 7-iron. But that new 7-iron says 8 in the bottom. It has ball speed, and it was going farther than your old 7.
Yeah,
that's kind of the where we want to look at the overall spectrum of the numbers as we try to really get in a little bit more of the nitty-gritty piece. That's one of the things that I find very intriguing, because you come in and say, well, I've always carried a 5-iron, and you're telling me now it's a 6-iron. No, I'm telling you it's the same as your old 5-iron, except it's got more ball speed, it launches higher, it goes farther, and it says 6 on the bottom. And that's something some people don't, they don't quite want to go down that road. But I'd say a majority, if not all of my fittings, when we have that discussion, they're like, oh, okay, I understand that. This goes farther, higher, stops quicker, and it has a different number on the bottom. Yeah. So what? So
yeah, it's I think you see a lot of comments out there on various golf forums where it's like, well, why don't companies just start putting the loft instead of a 7-iron, put the loft on there?
Right.
Which who knows? But I do think that's funny, because then there's PGA Tour pros, and I think it's Sahith Theegala. He has
2 8-irons, I think.
He's got 2 8-irons, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're different lofts.
Yes.
And then so I think he's one of them, and then it might be even him too, or I'm trying to think who exactly it is, but someone has, I think it's a 59-degree wedge that they ping puts 60 on.
I think it's him too.
Yeah, he just does not want to see 59. And so I just think it's kind of funny that you have a lot of people saying, why don't they put the loft on there?
Yeah.
The best of the best being like, I just want to see, because it's more just confuses them, or doesn't
totally. Well, think about it this way. So you've got numbers. If you talk about wedges for a second, and that's a great topic. When you look at the bounce number, do you know what the bounce number means, though? It's not a number. It's not a specific place. It's an average of the whole curvature of the bottom. There's not 12 degrees of bounce on the toe because it's shaved off on the toe or the heel. It's an average. The other side of it is, what happens if I take your 56 and bend it to 55? Well, is that going to, is that going to be mental gymnastics for us, going, well, it's really 55? No, it goes to a certain number. And so what's the difference if I have a pitching wedge that goes like my old 9-iron? If it gets the job done, we're really trying to place all those things together. But it's a great point.